Okay, Angelica, here is your modified system. So this is the case that you sent me for the original system. I'm not quite happy with the way this motherboard sits in this case. It's slightly different, but it is all pinned up and ready to go. Your ports are in the back here. You've got two external keyboards, keyboard 1 for internal and keyboard 2 or external. Now, if you put this in non-XEGS mode, either one of these could work, but if you've got it in the only way these both work at the same time is if you have it in XEGS mode, and in that case the internal keyboard doesn't work. The UAV is connected to the stock monitor port. If you've got this connected on a particular composite video pin, you're going to need to swap that out and then combine it so that you've got both Chroma and Luma coming in. Or you could do an S-video connection, that's up to you. So I've got a couple of things plugged in here. I've got SIO, just a SIO to SD, so you can see SIO working. I've got a joystick, and then this is just a standard USB power that I sell. And then this is a PS2 keyboard that goes to a keyboard switch. It's controlling this keyboard here. Now, the keyboard here that I use in demonstrations is wireless, and it's PS2, and it is a LabTech, and the version that you want to look for is here. Now, if you look for this version on Amazon, you should be able to find it, but sometimes they will ship you a Mexican keyboard, and the problem with that is that the Mexican version they're selling on Amazon is USB only, and that won't work. Alright, so I'm going to turn your machine on here. You notice the splash screen there. You can hear the SIO access. Now I'm just going to hit reset. See the standard reset there. I'm going to turn this on and off again. So you get the splash screen. Alright. Now, about the keyboard. If at any time you want to see the what the setup is for your keyboard, you press Alt and F2. And it tells you the current settings. So right now you can see that it's set to the US keyboard. It's set for the XEGS mode off. And again, if you want the external keyboard or the internal keyboard not to work and have two external keyboards connected and working, then turn that on. Why you would want to do that, I'm not sure, but that's up to you. Game boot is if you want to hold down the start key so it boots into an internal cartridge mode, which you would have to set up in Ult1MB. Option boot means that it boots with option held down if you want it disabled basic, but there are better ways to do that. Screensaver on means that it's just going to, after a period of non-use, put on a screensaver so it doesn't burn in. Of course, that's only really a problem if you're using it on a CRT, which I imagine you're not. Numlock defined means that when you press numlock on the keyboard that you have, it functions as numlock for the number pad. Arrow mode is to navigate, so if you want to use the arrow keys on your keyboard to navigate, then that's what works. Arrow speed is fast, you can slow it down. Diagonal arrows means you can press two arrows at the same time and it will go in a diagonal direction. That depends on what you want to do with it. And delay is just delay in the keyboard response and in the repeat response. If you want to check what version you've got, it's Alt F1. All of these are printed out on the printout I sent you that gives you all the key definitions. What I want to do now is go into F12. I'm going to press F12 on the keyboard. That goes into setup for the Ult1MB. This is how you control all of the functions of the Ult1MB. This is also in the manual that you can download off FJC's site. It's atari8.co.uk. And you have a number of different RAM options that you can set up. The default that I like to set is the 1 meg Rambo. It's the most compatible and gives you the biggest RAM disk. If you really wanted to, you could set this to stock 64K, 320K Rambo, 576 Copy Shop, which is a type of memory upgrade in case you have some program that wants that. Or again, the 1 meg Rambo. If you want to run a different OS, maybe you want an 800 OS. In this case, it's PAL. It might trick some software into running PAL. Most often it doesn't. But it does give you access to 800 OS, so you can run 800 only programs without a translator disk. Altera is the emulator OS. This is XeGS, so it turns it into an XeGS machine, but I leave it on standard XLOS. Atari Basic C, that's the most correct version of Atari Basic, is built in, but you can also change it to Altera Basic, Atari Assembler Editor, or the CineAssembler cartridge. If for some reason you want to not boot Sparta-DOS X, you can turn it off just by pressing Enter. This is also how you would turn on the graphical OS. I'm going to turn that on right here, and I'm going to press B for save and boot. And it's going to boot into the graphical OS. This looks pretty good. It's not beautiful because it's needs high definition, but this is pretty good for composite video. If you really want it better, you want to make the S-Video setting and connect it via S-Video. To change this, we just press F12 again, and we enable Sparta-DOS, and that automatically disables the graphical OS. You can set the system date and time here, but it's really annoying. If for some reason you want to turn POKEY on or off, here's how you would do it. Covox, it'll say you can enable it, but it's not. It thinks there's a Covox there, and it's not. It's because the Covox and the stereo POKEY are fairly similar. If for some reason you get a PBI device, you're going to want to turn this on, but right now I've got it disabled. Your SIO drivers and high-speed drivers are disabled because the PBI device is not enabled. I could enable it like this, and then I disable the hard drive, which then gives us access to the high-speed I/O. And then these are different settings. Flashing is enabled so that you can flash it for Sparta-DOS and new versions. The joystick port is the port that you could use to control moving through this as opposed to the keyboard. I like to set these to this color just because that way I know I've been in it. All of these keys and bracket can be pressed on any screen. Right now I'm going to press B for save changes and reboot. Okay, now you see a little difference. It's going to boot the PBI BIOS. It's going to try and see if it's got anything there. It doesn't. The easiest way to set the time is to press time or type time, and then that's going to give you an ability to enter that hours, minutes, and seconds. You just press enter, it takes whatever it still has. For date, you type date, do the same thing. Remember though, it's European default, and that's days, months, and years. And then the next thing to do is to make sure that the SIO is working. So I'm going to type dir. I won't try that. Okay, that gives us what's in here. I don't think I've got anything set up for D2. But let's see. I do not, so it's going to error out. And you know that this is the case because if we go over here and look, you see that it's set to D1 Ultimate, and then D2. Nope. D2 is off. D3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All of them are off. Okay. So, the next thing to test would be the cartridge port and the joystick port. So I'm going to put this back here. I'm going to grab a standard cartridge, okay, and I'm just going to put it and turn the machine off. Put it in. Now, Ultimate's going to give a splash screen, but it's going to go straight to the cartridge. All right. Now, I could use this keyboard to start and stop. So I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to say Option child, just because that's the way it should be. I'm going to press start. I'm going to put that keyboard down. And pick up a joystick. And, you see that? Okay, there you go. Yeah, I didn't say I was any good at it, but you can tell that's pepper. You can tell that works. Okay, so that works fine. Let's try and test more high function cartridge. I'm not really liking how your cart port is. Maybe it needs a little cleaning, but okay, so I'm going to use an ultimate cart just because this uses more address lines. And like usual, splash screen, and then it's going to give me that, and then helps if you put the cartridge all the way in. Okay, and then I like to use Space Harrier because it really puts a machine through its paces, puts the cartridge through its paces, and if it's working. And then I'm just going to press. Okay, so it says start, so I'm going to press start right here. Oh, there we go. Okay, and then we're going to get the joystick and okay. Oh no, that's on a stick. Alright, so that works. And then last but not least, let's okay, booting. Okay, and then just I'm gonna go out here and go wide like this. There we go. Okay. Okay, no, which is normal because there's no file name on that SD card. Now I could do cold/n, which is a cold boot, no cartridges. And then it's going to try and boot from that SD, SIO to SD, because it thinks there's a floppy with a disk in it. And there's no DOS in there, so of course that's not going to work. So if I keep doing that, it's going to keep trying to boot. So that doesn't help. So I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to unplug this. Now that was a full cold restart, so everything's going to go back to normal. Okay, now, do you see that? Help and reset. Like that. So, help and reset also gets me to the setup screen. So if, for example, your PS2 keyboard's not connected or not working, now you know how to get into that. Okay, I'm going to press B again. It's going to do its cold boot. It's going to try and find a hard drive. Now, if that's annoying and you don't like that, then just as easily, F12 on the keyboard or help and reset. Go in here and disable the PBI. Oops, I'm going to put that right. Okay. And it does the same thing. All right, so everything's golden. Like I said, I don't really like how this keyboard's or this motherboard sits in here, there's a little gap right there that I'm not liking. It's because of the motherboard. But I'm going to turn this off. Again, power. PS2 keyboard. Just standard monitor. Joystick. And then right there, stereo out. Now remember, this has got to be amplified speakers. It cannot just be like headphones or something like that unless those headphones have internal amplification. Internal keyboard or keyboard 1. So if in non-XEGS mode, then, or if in XEGS mode, this is the first keyboard you plug in. If in non-XEGS mode, in other words, stock XL, nothing goes in here. If you, so always an external keyboard is going to work in the slot no matter what mode it's in. All right. Other than that, it's pretty set. Hope you enjoy it. I have put a socket in the other motherboard that you sent me, and your second POKEY is in here. Second POKEY was okay. I noticed some damage to the casing, so at some point you might want to replace that, but it seems to be working fine right now. Other than that, enjoy your machine, and thank you for your business.